Okay, I've been doing a couple deep dive monk videos here, and I've been talking about this Flurry of Blows and Stunning Strikes build. I do not consider myself an absolute monk master. I'm sure somebody can come up with something better than this. This is my current theory on how to optimize a monk. And the idea is that we try and take one of our key abilities and make it as powerful as possible, and then focus our build around that one key ability. If we do builds that are just do every key ability okay, we just end up being okay. I'm trying to do something where we can stand out. So that's what this build is around. We only have two offensive options from the base class. We have Stunning Strike and Flurry of Blows. So I'm going to do two different builds that focus on those two separate lines. And you may be asking, well, is one better than the other? And you could say so, but I really feel like it comes down to the subclass you choose. Certain subclasses will make one build better than the other. And so I think they're both valid and both need to be understood. So Flurry of Blows, its main advantage is how many times we attack. Attacking 4 times at this level can't really be achieved unless they're using a limited resource like Action Surge or Gloomstalker's first attack against someone who had lost their initiative until fighters are hitting late levels. So that's our advantage. We can't scale the same way other classes do. We don't have feats that scale us the same way fighters do or paladins do. So we have to get creative, and we have to scale based on the amount of attacks. And the easiest way to do that I can think of is Hex or Hunter's Mark. So we have to ask ourselves, what's the most efficient way that we can get Hex and Hunter's Mark? We can go a couple level dip into Warlock. And the main disadvantage of going a couple level dip into Warlock is that now we have 13 in Charisma that we have to take, and we are already hurting for ability points. We might be able to dump Wisdom to get it, but we have to dump it pretty dang low. We have to dump it to 13 or less. And so that's a +1 to our Wisdom for a monk, and that's our AC as well. So it hurts to go Warlock. Okay, Ranger. Ranger, it's 2 level dip, pretty expensive for 2 Hunter's Marks per day. Maybe we can do better though. Hexblood. Hexblood allows us to just innately have Hex and cast it once a day, and that's only once a day though. But what if we combined Hexblood with a Wisdom-based full caster? Then it's only 1 level to get 3 uses of Hex. That seems as efficient as I've thought of so far. That seems the most efficient. So with this build, we're going Hexblood. Then we have to choose between Cleric and Druid. Now, Druids have better first level spells, and they have cantrips that allow us to use our Wisdom, but we're not really focused on our Wisdom because Dexterity is what skills Flurry of Blows. That's what's interesting about the Flurry of Blows and Stunning Strike builds, is one focuses on Dex and scales from Dex, one focuses on Wisdom and scales from Wisdom. Now, Clerics, on the other hand, may have weaker spells, but we're already using our spell slots for Hex, so that doesn't really matter. And what it comes down to is Clerics give us a first level subclass feature. So now we take a look at the subclasses, and there's arguments for different ones, but I'd argue that Peace is the way to go because Peace synergizes with our Flurry of Blows. It makes us less likely to fail a concentration save on them, and it makes us more likely to hit. So there we go. We start out as a Hexblood with a first level dip into Cleric Peace domain. Now the reason I go first level dip into Cleric is because we get our Wisdom saves, and Wisdom saves are way better than Dexterity saves for a monk, so we're happy to get them. The reason for this is we eventually get Evasion, which basically just nullifies our Dex saves and takes care of them completely, so Wisdom saves are much more important. So now instead of 1d4 plus Dex for a key point, we get 1d4 plus 1d6 plus Dex for a key point. So we can feel better about spending our key points when we have Hex up. It's just much more efficient damage. As far as the ability score spread, we're pretty happy doing +1, +1, +1, maximizing Dexterity at 16, Constitution at 16, and Wisdom at 16. But from here on out, we're making sure our Dexterity gets to 20 as soon as possible. That is our #1 priority. What monk subclasses really like this? Well, Drunken Master is all about using your Flurry of Blows, and this lets you get a free disengage and extra movement speed on your Flurry of Blows, which allows us to do a hit and run style, which we really appreciate as a monk because we don't have the tankiness to be standing up front as we would like. So this is definitely the build to go for Drunken Master. Exact same with Way of the Open Hand Monk. Way of the Open Hand Monk has the ability to try and trip people or push them, but my favorite by far is their ability to, with no save, make it so they cannot take reactions, any reactions. That enables our hit and run playstyle just like Drunken Master, but it also keeps them from doing things like Counterspell, which can be really strong. Now the trip might sound good, but we only have 1 try to make it happen, and then if we miss our next attack, now we're stuck next to them. So I'm almost always going to be using the disengage. Unless there's something to push them off of, then I'll probably be using the push. So both of them completely enable a hit and run playstyle, which is really nice with the Flurry of Blows build. I also like this build for the Way of Mercy monk because they do not need high wisdom in order to control. They have a free control with their free poison action. They don't have to make a constitution save against their wisdom proficiency. So we can focus on damage and still be able to control. So Mercy monks are really well balanced in that regard. So let's kind of just break this down for a moment. Let's say we're level 5. When we attack, let's just pretend we hit all of our attacks. So we hit them with a d8 plus our dex plus a d6. Then we do that twice. Then we hit them with a d6 plus a d6 plus our dex. So it's our dex times 4, which at this level is likely going to be 18. So that's 16 damage outright. Then we have 4d6, which is going to be about 14 damage. That's just from our hex. Then we have our 2d8s, which is going to be 9 damage. And then we have our final 2d6 for another 7 damage. Putting it all together, we have a lot of damage. That's more damage than most martials can produce at that level. It does take a setup turn, but even if we're not using Flurry of Blows, we're still getting 3 of those attacks with hex. So hex really does change the striker monk from doing mediocre damage to doing good damage. So we're happy to have it. All right, like I said before, though, I am not the master of monks. This is my current philosophy. Do you agree with it or do you disagree with it? Is there a better way to build monks? If you agree with it, is there a better way to optimize Flurry of Blows? Let me know in the comments down below. But for now, I just hope you have yourselves a lovely day, and I'll catch you on the next one where I'm going to be jumping into the Stunning Strikes build. Later.